Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about character. And if you don't know me, I'm Christian. Built my own company with my business partner Mikkel. We help coaches and consultants. Yeah, that's what I do. I don't want to get into that. Let's talk about this. Character. What do I mean by that? What is a character? Is it a game character, a movie character? No, it is you, right? It is your friend. It's your father, your mother, your neighbor, your boss, your co-worker, you. What is it? A character. Character. What does character mean, right? It is, well, character is essentially what defines you, right? What is your character? It is how you're built, right? It is the foundation that you work upon, right? It's what character that has been shaped to you since the day you were born, that what you've been building since you were a little kid, right? And when we're shaping our character and defining the standing ground on which we are or will be standing, we form that in very early years of life. Because when we're young, we are very receptive to information and we take in our environment. Environment is a really big thing for us humans, and especially, I don't want to get too into these, but let's dig a little bit into this. Environment affects you and how you act and what the things you do, right? Sometimes you might not think about it too much, but it essentially really holds the key to what it is that you are doing and how you're doing stuff. Because an environment is the place that you're in, right? It's the way you work, it's where you sleep, it's all around you, right? And imagine you have your having fun environment and your working environment, same place. A lot of people work from home, they sit on the sofa, sit in the kitchen, but when they start, they know sitting in sofa, okay, that is time to scroll on TikTok and it's time to look at the what's called television. And then you go work, then you just fuck everything up, right? That's environment. And when we're young, when we're forming our characters as young people, we pick up the environment of our parents. And especially their traits, their character, who they are as people. Right? And also if they're not there, we can also take it from peers, masters, mentors, that was the word I'm looking for, and tutors, right? People above us, people of authority in our lives, bigger siblings, right? People who have authority on us as when we're children. Because the way that we learn stuff as children is by copy and pasting what those around us do. So we pick up all the qualities, and then our brain, which doesn't really know what to do with them at this age, comes up with something and says, oh, this is probably right, and they do it something like that, right? Because of survival. And the reason why your brain does this is frankly quite simple. A long time ago, when we were living on the savannah, when we didn't live in the world that we were in right now, the best way for you to survive was to learn of people that are surviving. And the people that are surviving are your parents, right? They're alive, they bred a baby, so that means they're fulfilling the purpose of a human. Live and reproduce and build foundations. That was basically human needs. So, okay, they did something right. I'm going to do what they do. So, instinctively, we copy our belief system of our parents and our people around us. Now that doesn't mean that we become exact copies of our parents and of our peers and that etc. Because we shape our own character slowly, but we are hugely and very much influenced in our early years, especially from the age of 1 to 6. We are very easily influenced by the sources of environment around us. And this shaped the character which we will be running for the rest of our life. And you find this even when people turn 60, when they turn 40, like adulthood, people still revert back to things or the operating system that they installed when they were kids. So adult people acting off on beliefs or acting on beliefs and things that were met when they were young, right? This means adults making decisions of beliefs and from foundations that were set when you were 2 and 3 years old. You see this a lot with narcissists and other toxic types, right? I mean, there's a lot of types of childhoods that you can have. And some of us are blessed to have a good, healthy, strong childhood. And some of us are not, right? Because what we find, unfortunately, that sometimes parents, they leave their children. They hit their children. They abuse their children. They don't give them enough attention. They scold them. They set a really bad footprint on them when they're young. They're absent. Or maybe they're loving. They're caring. They're giving you space to grow. They're teaching you how you should be. They're letting you interact with your peers and friends. There's a lot of ways that you can grow up your child. But essentially, the way that you treat your children and the way children are being treated is a direct correlation with how they will actually be in the future. A lot of narcissists and big narcissists, there's a lot of different types, but let's just take one for example. Whereas when you were young, your parents always controlled everything that you were doing and you never had a choice of your own. You always felt like you were locked in prison and always have to follow all the rules. Then when you get older, you have a problem, or you can most likely have a problem with authority. Meaning that it's hard for you and your character to accept people above you. Because they will not. you just get reminded of the time you were a child and you were trapped, and that is so painful for you to remember. And your brain just put this defense mechanism up, say, oh, authority, run away, lies, fronts, whatever, everything that we have at that. Because we don't want to be vulnerable, we don't want to take damage, we want to avoid pain. Right? That's essentially a big thing. We're pain avoidant. We don't want to feel the pain of others' opinions and going against us and who we were built from the very beginning. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this, or a little bit more of a type. I'll give you an example of this one actually. It's about, can't remember his name, but it's about a child, right? He had a mother, so when he was born, his mother could not have any more children, right? And it was not possible for him or for her to have other children. So she really overprotected this child, right? She gave it so much care. Like, she homeschooled it. She chose all the friends he could have. He chose everything that he could do. She was in complete control and had no way. And the child had no way of actually doing anything, right? Because he was being controlled. And then he had his papa, who was a semi-successful. I mean, he was fairly successful businessman who has said, one day, son, you're going to be the one to take over my company and run my firm, right? There was expectations, and he was guided and put on a string, pulled through everyone. This means that who he really was suppressed. He never got to be free. He never got to have freedom of his own choice. So he was always locked. This means all this opportunity and all this want that he had just rotted down. And then at the early age of 19, he actually lost both his parents. 17 to his mother, and then 2 years after his dad died. And as soon as they died, all control of his life was gone. He had complete freeness. And he rambled off. He took over his father's company, made a lot of money. He sold the company. He started a new airplane company. He made a movie. And the problem was, through whole his life and career as business building, it never really went well. Because when he was building a team, he didn't want anyone to control it. So imagine you're building a big company or building a movie. You're hiring a director. The director comes with an opinion, and as soon as that person comes with an opinion about what you are and what you're doing, or just an input on the film, they see that as someone picking on your authority and picking on who is in charge. And they immediately fire that guy and go back. So yeah, that guy spun off. He ended up miserably on drugs. Don't want to talk about that. But essentially, his decisions through his whole life, when building companies, unsuccessful because he just spent the money his father had made. And when he tried to build relationships, everything just fucked up because he could not accept authority over him because he was so scarred from when he was a little child. Right. And there's a lot of different kinds of these toxic things out there. There's also the hard worker. Someone who feels like, if I don't do it, who will? Right? So they just work. This can be positive, but if not channeled in the right direction, they will not let anyone else do their work. They don't accept anyone else doing their work. They have to do everything themselves. They need to burn out in critical crashes and usually resetting a lot further back than when they started. And there's more, but these are just some essential ones. There's also the one, let me give you one more. The one who, what's called the pleaser, right? He lures you in because he seems nice on the outside, but what he really does is he craves attention. Because when he was a child, his mother abandoned him. This is just an example, right? His mother could have abandoned him, and he never got any attention from a mother. I mean, he always missed that role of attention. He never had it, meaning that he was hungry. He was hungry for attention when he got old. So he lured people in his charm to give them all their attention on him or her, to really, to constantly give him that loop of attention, right? And he is go a lot deeper on this, but essentially what some of them people tend to do is that they tend to control other people. They tend to always bend people to their will by manipulating, lying, and not really being straightforward, all to get more attention until you're locked in their way of life and you're just stuck. Right. So, to get back to all of this, the character which you are and which have been defined for you has been psychologically rooted in you as a person. And it is really, really hard to change it. Okay? That's the bad news. It's really fucking hard to change the things that you learned as very, very little. And also because a lot of it is made from primal instincts in our brain that we're born with. These are things that are almost impossible to change. But they can be controlled. Right? They can be distributed differently than pure emotion. So now your job is, you begin to realize within yourself, right? It all starts with honesty. You need to be honest with you and yourself. Are you telling yourself the truth? Are you really who you think you are? If you cannot come to terms with who you are and accept the person that you are with all your faults, you will never really, it will be hard for you to go anywhere because you don't accept the thing that's actually wrong with you, meaning that you can't change it. There's a lot of layers to our character, right? And some of them are really deep. Let's take the first and second layer. This is what you show to people, right? This is your facade. This is the outside character. This is what acts, right? This is the decisions you make. The third layer, right? Inside of that is what beliefs you have. What are these beliefs? Where do they come from? What is the tendencies? Then the fourth stage, you can go in further, is those beliefs, what do they stem from? Right? How did those beliefs get created? How did they get there? And usually what you find is that people have a nature of being something. It could be curious and anxious. It could be adventurous and one other thing. But usually two core things that always roll around them, right? Say if you look at introverts and extroverts, they can't really understand each other. But the thing is that the way an introvert work is a lot different from how an extrovert work in the terms of energy spent and energy gained. And they can't see each other's power because they're wired differently from the start, making a different character on the outside. Because there's a lot of different filters and layers that they have to go through as people. And you do that as well. So you have to learn, what side are you showing to people? Like, what is your outside character? How do you treat people? How do you get in? How do you act? Why do you act? Is there patterns that always come up again? What's your facade? Then look at it. What were the decisions you made, right, to make those decisions? What thoughts did you have? Why did you think that you would do it that way? How do you always come up with the same excuse? Do you always come up with the same reason? Do you always do a certain thing the same way? Right? It's repeated. It's a pattern. Before that, do you have specific beliefs about something? Is there something you truly believe? Is there something that moves you unconsciously, where you have an opinion about it but not really clear of it? And look back. Look at your past. How were you treated as a child? I mean, you might be an adult and say, oh, as a child, it don't matter. But no. Because most of you, even how old you are, most of it is affected as when you are a child. And not resolving it will leave you a very big blind spot and very big disadvantage because it controls you. So look at who you were. Right? Look at who you were when you were young. And if you don't know, ask parents, friends. Start to research. Go to therapists for that reason, right? Someone help you dig, because you know a lot. And the brain has this way of suppressing bad memories and just hiding them from us because they're painful and we don't want to think about them. But unconsciously, they're always there, right? The unconscious brain is really what rules us. It's our decision-making power when we're not realizing it. And that is why we always revert back. Have you ever thought about or had this sensation or this feeling that, oh, why did I just do this? Like, why did I just make that decision? That is stupid. It makes no sense. Right. And you don't know where it comes from. This is where it comes from. It is your deep character. It's what you revert back to by default. It's your default setting. It's the programming system that you run on. Now, it's not... I mean, look at it like this way. You have a Windows computer. And then Windows computer can be built up in a lot of different ways, but it's all running on the same software. But you can build it up differently. You're in control of where you see it. So your assignment is to learn you. Like, learn you. Learn within yourself. Learn who you are. Learn who you're talking to. Like, learn the way that you're acting, the way that you're interacting with people. Start noticing your own mistakes. Start noticing your own flaws. Start noticing your goods and ups. Right? Reveal your whole character to yourself. This starts by insight. Look back at the past. Find out where you come from. And I'll do this with other people too. You need to be able to judge who's good for you and who's not good for you. Because you can help yourself. You can work on yourself. But it's almost impossible for you to help someone else who's in the same position. Because a lot of people don't want help. And if forced or helped into it, they just shut off. The only way to really change people if they actually want to do it. Right? Otherwise you can't change them. You just revert back to who they were. You see this, there's this show, right? Can't really remember what it's called, but it's basically, in America, there's this show where people who are overweight join this show for television, and they go on and hit a goal, right? So if you lose X amount of pounds by X date, you get this much money, right? A lot of people do it, right? They, like for 3 or 6 months, they just work out like crazy, lose 90 pounds or some like crazy numbers, right? They get the money, they get the prize pool, and as soon as the attention is away, as soon as the doctors are gone, as soon as the trainers are gone, 3 months after, they're back with those 90 pounds. They're reverted back into the same patterns. Yes, they had motivation. Yes, they did the work. Yes, they cut out all food. They cut out all snacks. They cut out all candy. But as soon as they got what they wanted, they reverted back to their original character. That's because they worked on motivation. They did not go down and look at the habits. They did not go down and look at the deep psychological reason of why they were doing things. They did it because there was a bigger desire, which was to win money and the attention, that was more than just sticking to your old roots. Because you're getting more pleasure and less pain from pursuing that than staying where you are. As soon as that's gone, there's more pain in keeping that up if you haven't changed it correctly back into then just being fat. Now, not all revert back, but some, a lot of do. I think it's 20% actually keep fit and keep it up. That's because they build good, strong habits and don't just do it for the camera. Right? This is why when you focus on a result, when you get the result, you'll be disappointed usually, and then you'll revert back. You need to focus on the way there. And the way there is shaped by who you are. Who you are deep down as a character. Now learn yourself. And start building, start working on channeling, yeah, that's the word, channeling your pure emotions and belief, which you have, into something positive. You are in control of who you are. You are in control of where you go. But you need to make the conscious decisions of actually doing it. Because if you're ruled unconsciously or subconsciously, you will be ruled for your entire life without even thinking about it. You need to become aware. aware of your own actions and why you do them, then and only then can you change. And change the deep fundamental stuff. Always go further down. And when you know when you're further down, when it starts repeating itself, when you cannot find a reason of why, right? That is usually the reason. Fix that, and you'll magically see the rest fix, right? So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. There's more coming on this deep psychology stuff. It's really important. I don't know if you listen to this or not, but these kind of videos and this kind of information of who you are and who you are as a person is information that I'm grateful to have obtained, and hopefully you can gain something from it as well. So yeah, that's all for me. Have a great day, and bye bye.